Thank you everybody for being here today. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Catalina Covacevich and I work for the OECD, and I'm going to be telling you today about the PISA 2025 foreign language assessment. I'm going to start off by describing a little bit what PISA is, how it works, and then I'm going to move on to the specificities of the foreign language assessment. So PISA has been developed by the OECD, that's the institution I work for. This is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. This is an international organization that works to build better policies for better lives. And our goal is to shape policies that will foster prosperity, equality, opportunity, and well-being for all. We don't work only on education, we work on many different subjects such as health, taxes, etc. But education is one of the topics, and I work for the Directorate of Education and Skills. That's the directorate in charge of PISA. So here you can see some of the main characteristics of PISA. Some of them are specific to PISA 2025. So the first one is that PISA, the Program for International Student Assessment, is an assessment of educational systems. So we don't assess individual students. We don't report results by students. We don't even have results by students. We also don't report at the school level. It's at the level of educational systems. So most of these systems are countries, but in some cases they're economies. They can be states within a country. They can be big cities, etc. PISA 2025 will be the 9th edition of PISA. We have been doing PISA every 3 years since the year 2000, with one exception, that was during COVID. We had to move PISA 2021 and implement it in PISA 2022 because there were no schools open, basically, so we just couldn't collect the data. We test a sample of 15-year-old students in grade 7 and above. This is a lot of information in one sentence. So first, this is a sample of students. So we don't go and assess every student in a participating country. We select a representative sample. And it's very important to highlight that it's representative. Countries don't choose their own samples. We provide the guidelines for choosing the sample. We only focus on students, so 15-year-old students. In some countries, this is pretty much the same thing as saying the population of 15-year-olds. In other countries, that's not necessarily the case. So we can have countries where coverage is close to 100%. We have some countries where actually coverage is maybe 70%, even 60%. So where only 60% of the 15-year-olds are actually still in school. We also focus on students that are in grade 7 and above. So if a student is a 15-year-old in grade 4, we don't assess that student. They have to be in grade 7 and above, but we don't care in what grade they are above grade 7. So we will find them whether they're grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12. So we're not a grade-based assessment, we're an age-based assessment. For PISA 2025, we expect around 90, perhaps 92 countries from across all the continents to participate. And we always assess students in 3 main domains, that are science, reading, and maths. And we focus more on one of them. So this time, PISA 2025, we will be focusing on science. That means that we have more questions about science. The questionnaires focus on science. We will be reporting by subscales for science. We update the framework for science, etc. But we still report on reading and maths. In addition to these more perhaps traditional domains, every cycle we have what we call an innovative domain. And the innovative domain for PISA 2025 will be learning in a digital world. In addition, we have what we call options. An option that we have been offering for several cycles is financial literacy. But this time we're going to change. And for a very first time, the option that we will be offering is English as a foreign language. PISA focuses on whether students can apply their knowledge to new situations and real-life contexts. So it's not about theoretical knowledge, it's not about declarative knowledge, it's about whether students can or not actually use that knowledge. And in addition to the test, we have a lot of questionnaires. And this is because one of the purposes of PISA is to be able to describe student performance. But another very important purpose is to be able to explain student performance. What variables are associated? What variables can help explain student performance? And for that, we also need to collect data. So we have on one side a battery of tests, and on the other side, a battery of questionnaires. that are answered by many different stakeholders. So we have some questionnaires for the students. The same students who answer the test also answer some questionnaires. We also have a questionnaire for the school principals. We have another questionnaire that's for the system level. And we have 2 optional questionnaires for parents and for teachers. So together, with all that data, we can actually contextualize and describe and explain the results. In addition, I don't have a slide for that, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about how the data is actually collected. So we at the OECD coordinate PISA. We externalize specific tasks to contractors. So contractors such as ETS in the US or ACER in Australia coordinate the assessment, design the instrument, provide guidelines, make sure that every country is implementing the assessment in the same way, so we can ensure that the results are comparable. But the actual data collection is done by the countries. And it's done in schools, it's done inside the classrooms. So we don't have like a special assessment setting, like assessment buildings. No, it's a regular classroom. A test administrator goes to the school, they separate the students that are going to take the test, and they're sitting in a regular classroom. And that is quite important to understand the context in which we'll be implementing the foreign language assessment. Here you can see a list of all the countries and economies that have participated in PISA. Normally, once they join, they continue participating in every cycle, but we do have some exceptions, particularly economies that participate once and then maybe sit it out for a couple of cycles before coming back in. And I have put in these kind of yellow circles countries that I think many of the participants may be from, just so it's easier for you to find your country there. And we have highlighted in red those countries that are new to PISA 2025. So we normally have between 5 and 10 new countries. Last time we had around 80 countries in PISA 2022. Now in PISA 25, we have around 91, maybe 92 countries. And you can see that we have coverage from countries all around the world, from all the continents. So some continents are more represented than others. And I think we have a lot of presence from the Americas today. PISA has gradually been growing a lot in presence in Latin America, and not all, but many countries are participating right now. And you can see them on the list. So we have Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica. Where else? Well, Peru, Mexico. We also have Guatemala. Sorry, I forgot to put Guatemala in a circle. But there are many, many countries from Latin America right now. So this is what countries get from participating in PISA. And I'm going to go over each of these boxes a little bit more in detail. So the first thing that countries get, and this is perhaps the most known characteristic of PISA, is benchmarking. Being able to compare the results, the performance, their students against something else. And in the case of this slide, that something else is the performance of other countries and economies. So basically, here we have the performance of countries in PISA 2018, specifically in maths, in order, which is also known as a ranking. So what most countries do when they first see this is, okay, we're going to have a quick look at where am I, who's at the top, who's at the bottom. But maybe just comparing oneself against 90 countries isn't particularly significant in terms of who's your reference point. So countries then normally have specific reference points. And the reference point that we offer is the OECD average, because this assessment is developed by the OECD. So we have in blue those countries that are above the OECD average, in yellow those that are on the OECD average, and in red those that are below the OECD average. And this is very interesting, of course, for OECD countries, perhaps not so much for countries that are not OECD countries, but each country has their own group of reference. So for example, in Latin America, I am from Latin America, you probably have a look at the other Latin American countries. Maybe you have a look at Spain as kind of a more ambitious goal. But you don't really look at all countries. And I want to say this because many times when the results of PISA come up in the press, there's a lot of emphasis on the ranking of how this country is, I don't know, 75 out of 80. And that's not really what PISA is about. The idea, of course, is that you want to improve, you want to see how other countries are doing, but the idea is to be able to learn. So for example, if there's a country that's very similar to you in terms of income, in terms of heritage, in terms of language, but maybe they don't have the same results. You can start looking at, okay, what is it that they're doing differently? But you can also do this kind of analysis with countries that are very different to you, with high-performing countries. So there are many high-performing countries that are Asian countries. And maybe there are some elements of their educational systems that cannot be easily transferable to another context, but there are some elements that maybe could be transferable. And the idea is to be able to learn from those elements and not to kind of, get depressed because of the results. This is another way of doing benchmarking. So this isn't against other countries. This is against a standard, in this case, against the PISA framework and the levels, the performance levels that we have in PISA. So for every domain, we have around 7 or 8 proficiency levels, and we have a very detailed description of what students in each of these proficiency levels can actually do. So this is information that's quite useful if you're a teacher, if you work in policy, because, okay, you actually know what your students can do against an international standard. It's not just a ranking. And you could try to decide here on, I don't know, what could be your goals in terms of maybe we should aim at all our students achieving level 2, and this is where we're going to focus. Or maybe you want to aim at the higher performance levels and have more students there. That's a little bit up to each country. So traditionally, we have set kind of the goal at level 2. We have said that's the minimum goal that ideally students should achieve at age 15. And that's why you see we have the black line there, making the difference between level 2 and above and below level 2. And you can see here that there's a strong correlation between the position in the ranking and how many students are in each proficiency level. So the high-performing countries have more students in the higher performance levels, and the same is true the other way around. But you can also see that every single country has some students that are below level 1. And every single country has high-performing students. So in a way, every country, even the high-performing ones, still has challenges in the sense that they still have students they haven't been able to serve appropriately. And every single system is able to produce some high-performing students. Here I will show you some trends. So normally what we look at is trends at the country level because they're more easy to see. It's easier to see change in one country than overall trends. But in PISA 2022, we actually observed for the very first time a huge decrease, a huge drop in maths. So this is specifically the OECD average that dropped by almost 15 score points. And we can also see that there was a tendency to go down before that. So you see that the line is not flat, it was going down, but it increased a lot between 2018 and 22. So this can probably be attributed at least partly to COVID, but not only to COVID. And this is quite concerning. But we also offer the opportunities to look at trends for individual countries. And even though the tendency was to drop in 22, we still had countries that actually increased their results in maths and also in the other domains. This is another way of double-clicking on the ranking, because what the ranking shows is the average. But averages hide things. So one way of double-clicking on the average is looking at the percentage of students in each proficiency level that I already showed you. Another way of double-clicking is looking at distribution according to socioeconomic background. So here you can see performance in some countries according to the socioeconomic background of their students, divided by quarters. So the red line is the bottom quarter, and the little blue triangle is the top quarter. So what we should be focusing on here is the size of the arrows. So big arrows mean there's a lot of difference between the quarters. There's a lot of difference that can be explained by socioeconomic background of the students. And a small arrow is what ideally countries should be aiming at. So you see, for example, a country like Estonia has a pretty small arrow, and they're quite high performing. So that's kind of an ideal scenario where everybody does quite well, and the difference that's attributed to socioeconomic background is not particularly big. But you also have other countries that do very well on average, such as Singapore, where you do see more differences according to the socioeconomic background of students. So that's another kind of analysis that you can do with the PISA data. this is something else that we focus on a lot in the analysis in PISA, and it has to do with money, because many times when you look at the ranking, you say, well, but that's obvious because those are the rich countries. And we have data that proves that, yes, money is relevant. It does make a difference, but it only makes a difference to some extent. And it's not all that makes a difference. So when does it start making a difference? Or when does it actually stop making a difference is in this blue line in the middle. So the countries that are on the left are countries that overall, if you could make a bigger investment, a larger cumulative expenditure per student by age 15, it would probably increase the results. But all the countries that are on the right, that's not about money anymore. You can put more money on the system, it's not going to make a difference per se. It's actually seems to be more about what are you doing with the money or with other variables. It's not the money that's making a difference there. But still, for the countries on the left, for the countries that more money would make a difference, you can see that the same level of investment doesn't necessarily imply the same results. So there's still something that has to do with elements that are not just about money. And this is the last slide I have about PISA. It's just to show that we also collect data on elements such as student well-being. We don't focus only on results of tests, and we treat these results as results in themselves, and we also use them to try to explain the results in the test. So this is just an example. This is a question that's specific about COVID, in which we were asking students if they thought their teachers had been available when they needed help, and if they have felt lonely during COVID. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference according to the countries. You can also see that being a high-performing country is not necessarily associated with this kind of variable. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And now I'm going to move on specifically to the foreign language assessment. So we had been having a lot of demand from countries to introduce an assessment of foreign languages in PISA for quite a long time, but it had been quite difficult to agree on how to do it, because there were a lot of decisions that had to be made. And another element is that PISA is paid for by the countries that participate, and it sounded like a very expensive endeavor, particularly if you got very ambitious about it. But there was no doubt in the countries that participate in PISA about the benefits of foreign language skills that everyone here is probably very aware of. So cognitive benefits, increased intercultural understanding, better job opportunities and economic benefits, both at the level of countries and at the level of individuals. And this is obvious in the curriculum of countries. There has been a huge increase in the last couple of decades in terms of having an earlier start in foreign language teaching, in increasing the amount of hours, etc. But there are currently no internationally comparative data collections at the school system level. And here again, I want to emphasize pieces about the system level, the school system level. So we're not about tertiary education. It's not about the overall population. And there are some indicators, for example, the results of students that apply to certification tests to apply to universities in English, but that's doesn't really adequately reflect what's going on as a result of a school system. So there was one study, the IA 6-subject survey in the early 70s, that actually did assess English and French as a foreign language, but that was a long time ago. And then we have Surveylang that was conducted in 2011 by the European Commission, a very ambitious project. They assessed 5 languages in European countries, but that is still more of a regional assessment than an international one. And it hasn't happened again. There's no second cycle of it. This slide here is just to show that we also have data that proves that intercultural understanding is associated with foreign language teaching and learning. So we have a question where we ask students if they speak 2 or more languages. And we also have some questions about respect for people from other cultures. And we see in most of the countries that are here, I think only in 3 cases we don't see it, that these variables are associated, and this association is statistically significant. And there I have highlighted some countries so you can find your country more easily. So some characteristics of the FLA. The first one is we decided to follow the Common European Framework of Reference. This is quite strange for PISA. And PISA, we always develop our own frameworks, our own description of proficiency levels, our own conceptualization of the content that we want to assess. So we have a PISA definition of reading, for example. But here we chose to take a different path. We were advised to use something that's already out there, that's being widely used by countries, both for curriculum and for their national assessments. People know what the CFR levels mean, and it's a framework that has already been used to design tests, so there is experience on it. We will be offering it every 2 cycles, so we will be able to measure trends in the future. And the idea of measuring trends isn't just to see, have there been trends or not? Ideally, it's to be able to relate policy changes to improvements in outcomes. So for example, if there has been a huge investment in education or a huge curriculum change, this is something that you would hopefully expect to see in the data. And this is why measuring trends is so important for educational systems. It's because it allows to track if the investments, if the changes seem to have worked or not. Then another important characteristic is that it's a very collaborative effort. We work very closely with the PISA countries to develop the assessment, to make the decisions, to identify what are the policy questions that countries want to answer, because this isn't an academic effort. This isn't an academic research. It's based on policy. So we want to know what is it that countries want to know? What questions do they want to be answered? We have worked very closely with foreign language experts on the design of the instruments, of the test, of the questionnaires. We have developed the test under a partnership with Cambridge Assessment English. And we have been very supported by the European Commission that has provided co-funding and technical expertise since the beginning of the project. So we had to make some decisions for this cycle because it's the first cycle, but we may make other decisions for future cycles. It's just that we were told to not get too ambitious the first time because this is already quite challenging in the PISA context. So first we decided to assess only 1 foreign language, and we decided it would be English because we asked countries, what language would you be interested in assessing? And it was mostly English. Then ideally, we would have liked to assess reading, listening, speaking, and writing, but then actually it wasn't 1 foreign language test. It turned into 4 tests, which is really, really tricky, technically, logistically, financially. When you start adding tests, then you have to increase the sample size. It was really difficult. And again, we had been told to keep it simple. So we asked countries to rank the skills, and writing came in last. So we deleted writing for this cycle. It doesn't mean we won't assess it in the future. And we decided to explore speaking. And for us, this was an exploration because of the logistical challenges of trying to assess speaking in a classroom setting. But it has actually worked really well. So now we're not really talking about exploring it anymore because apparently it has worked. But the idea was to explore it. And it's specifically spoken production. It's not spoken interaction. And what happens concretely is this is a computer-based test. The student is asked to speak into the mic. We record the responses. And then they're marked, they're coded by Cambridge Assessment English. And we're really happy that Cambridge accepted or offered to do this too, because traditionally in PISA, it's countries that code their own open-ended questions, but we knew that coding, speaking in English as a foreign language required a level of expertise, of knowledge that was very difficult that we would be able to achieve in countries, and comparability could have been at risk. So now that we know that this is all in the hands of Cambridge, who are also the ones who designed the test, we can rest assured this will be done right and we will have comparable results. And we will also assess the students in reading in their own language of instruction, because we would like to compare the results of reading in English as a foreign language with reading in their own language of instruction, to try to isolate to what extent is this skill about reading per se, or is it reading in a specific language? And the idea is that in the future, we will be able to expand to other languages and other skills. These are the questionnaires I had already described. So what we will do is that for each PISA questionnaire, we will add a module that's specific to the teaching and learning of English as a foreign language. So we will have a module for students, for schools, for parents, for the system level, and a module for teachers who teach English as a foreign language. And we will focus both on learning inside and outside of school. And this is perhaps a bit different to other PISA domains, because you can never say that the PISA results are only about what happens at school. There's always an element of what's going on outside of school too. But particularly for English as a foreign language, we know that what's going on outside of school is very, very relevant too. So to the extent possible, we want to be able to isolate what's going on outside to what's going on inside, particularly because some countries felt it could be a bit unfair if their results were compared with countries where there was a lot of English going on outside school, and in their country there wasn't. So they felt it was mostly the effort of the school or the school system. So we want to be able to identify those variables, to describe them and to take them into account when we report the results. This is a list of countries and economies that signed up to participate. This list is final. We can't add any new countries at this point. And we're quite happy with the distribution. You can see that there are a lot of European countries, but there are also countries that are not from Europe. And this is really important to be able to have better data, to be able to explain the results. Because when countries are very similar, sometimes there are variables that seem not to make a difference. And they don't just because everybody has that variable in the same way in their countries, not because the variable itself doesn't make a difference. And this is my last slide. It's about what will the FLA deliver. So it's basically the same things that I already described that PISA delivers, but in this case, it's specific to foreign language. So first, we will offer an international comparison, internationally comparable results on PISA scales. So countries will have a score in each of the 3 skills, and we'll be able to look at them in a ranking. But we will also provide the percentage of students in each proficiency level on the CFR scale. So what percentage of students are A1, A2, B1, B2, C1? And in the future, we will be able to offer trend data. Then we will also offer the opportunity for national diagnostics. So a description of the strengths and weaknesses in the mastery of foreign languages, and the 3 skills. So maybe we'll see different patterns. Maybe countries is strong in reading, but not in speaking, for example. But also a description of the achievement gaps and variation within the school system. So the kind of variations you could expect here are perhaps between rural and urban schools, but also perhaps between boys and girls. And also the relationship between language skills, the learning context, as I described above, and exposure to foreign languages. And finally, we expect that countries will get policy and practice lessons. So the idea is to be able to identify the best practices worldwide in terms of teaching practices, of curriculum, the use of resources on language learning. This should be able to help guide policy decisions, and ultimately it should inform and improve language teaching and learning, not only in the countries that participated, but also in countries that didn't necessarily participate, but they can still learn from the results. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first question is, what are the benefits for low-performing countries to be compared with others that are well known for their performance in English teaching and learning? This was quite a concern for some of the low-performing countries. This is not a concern only for the FLA. This is a concern for PISA in general. You could say that, okay, the countries that are at the bottom of the ranking, they have strong suspicions are probably going to be at the bottom of the ranking again next time. Even if they improve, you know, that they're still going to be maybe, I don't know, 75 out of 80. So countries really don't participate just because of the ranking. They really participate because they want to be able to compare themselves with international standards. They want to be able to expose themselves to see how they compete with other countries that they would like to compete with, but also because they really want to be able to learn from those countries. So I think it's very brave of countries that can expect to be low performing, both to participate in PISA and to participate in the FLA. But many of them trust that they will actually get really good outcomes out of it. In some cases also, it can be used to confirm suspicions. So let's say you work in a Ministry of Education and you have a pretty good idea of how your students would do in PISA, but you have never participated in PISA. And maybe the rest of the country is really optimistic and like, no, we would do really well because we're the best in the region. And then you participate in PISA and then you get results that can be quite shocking. Oh, But that shock is what allows to get better, is what allows to think, okay, maybe we really need to make a reform here. Maybe we need to invest more in education. And that kind of conversation sometimes can't happen unless you actually have data to back it up. So say, for example, I would suspect that in most Latin American countries, there's an issue with the background of the teachers who teach English. In many cases, they don't speak English. That's a huge issue. It has to do with resources, etc. If you can show that, if you can show, look, we're doing really, really badly, and the data shows it's because our teachers don't speak English, then you actually have tools, you have data to allow you to get the resources maybe that you need. So there are a lot of benefits, even if you suspect you're going to be at the bottom of the ranking. I'm going to skip to another question and ask, what do you consider to choose the students who will take the PISA test? So we want this to be a representative sample. So we ask countries to produce a list of all the schools that could have 15-year-old students in them. And then what we choose are the schools. And we choose them making sure that they represent the entirety of the country, so that we have schools from different regions, that we have big schools, small schools, urban schools, rural schools. Countries can tell us if there's any other variable that's relevant for them that we should take into account too, to make sure that this is representative. And then within the schools, we sample students aleatorily. So we don't choose them one by one. It's just a sample of 15-year-olds. We do have some allowances for exceptions. So in the case of the FLA, the exception is that students must have had at least 1 year of learning English in the school system at some point of their schooling life. So they don't necessarily have to be studying English now, but at some point they should have had 1 year of schooling. But in most countries, English is compulsory. So this is considered that everybody is eligible for the FLA test. Then another question asking, can you tell us a bit more about the speaking test? Yes, so as I said, this is a computer-based test. There's no interaction with a person, and there's also no interaction with the computer. So students get, I think, 4 what we call parts. They're like sections. Each section has more than one question, and each part has different characteristics. So one is talking about oneself, the other is describing a story, the other one is giving an opinion, etc. So there are different kinds of tasks. And the speaking test isn't adaptive. So this means that everybody gets the same questions. So the questions have been designed in a way that they're broad enough for low performers and high performers to be able to give some kind of response that will allow us to identify what is their level. So for example, if you ask them to describe what's going on in a picture, you can see that an A1 student actually can say something, maybe not too much, maybe not using a lot of complex future forms of verbs, but they can give a very basic description of what's going on, maybe without any verbs at all, while someone that has a more sophisticated level will be able to give a very detailed description of what's going on in the picture. But it's the same question for everyone, regardless of the level. And that is quite different to the reading and the listening test that are adaptive. So according to their previous responses, they will be given different questions that should be more appropriate for their specific level. Another question, let me see if there's someone here. No, the question is if Brazil will participate in the foreign language test. No, unfortunately not. So we had actually thought at the beginning we would get a lot more participation from Latin American countries, but we didn't. And we think there was a lot of things going on. Something that went on was COVID. And when countries had to make the decision to join, many of them had been told to be under an austerity regimen. So basically try to spend the minimum. So they could keep participating in PISA, for example, but the bare bones PISA, nothing that was additional, nothing that implied additional resources. So several Latin American countries told us, we're really sorry, this is just really bad timing. We don't have the resources for it. Some other countries were just starting to implement some reforms and thought this was perhaps a bit too premature, that could perhaps hurt the efforts they were making. We haven't ever heard officially from Brazil why they didn't participate, but no, they're not participating. So why did you choose the CFR? Yes, I think that one I already answered. It's because there was already a very good framework out there that had been widely proved to design assessments as a reference point. It was being widely used by countries, not just in Europe. This was very important for us. It had been just a European thing. We wouldn't have gone with it, but it's pretty used in Latin America too, for example. So we decided that this was the best path to take, and it was what would make more sense for countries and what would ensure us that we would produce something technically good. So I don't see any more questions, but I can tell you about a question I received yesterday in another setting, and it had to do with AI, and it was whether we were going to do machine coding of speaking. And that is something that we discussed for several years, and we weren't sure. We thought we would explore it, but we had to make the decision quite a few years ago, because in PISA, everything has to be decided a lot in advance. So this decision had to be made, I think, in 2020, 2021. And we weren't sure if we would be ready by 25 or by 24, actually, because a field trial is this year, to have a high quality automatic coding of speaking. We thought we would, but we didn't want to risk it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use human coding, but we will use the data to see what had happened if we had used, what would have happened if we had used machine coding. And I'm quite sure that for the next cycle, we will have machine coding or a mixed model with humans and machines. We were also a bit worried about the perception. If we said this had been coded by machines, we were told that maybe teachers wouldn't really believe the results so much. And maybe that will change, because the results will only be launched in late 26, early 27. But at the time when we had to make the decision, there was a lot of uneasiness about scoring conducted by machines. So I think there are no other questions.
No, I think we're going to hand over to Leon now. Catalina, that was a really great session, and thank you for answering all of those questions.